Wow. This is such a big stage and such tiny chairs.
Well, as you can see by our outfits, we just came from chopping wood. Just a couple of manly men.
Couple of manly rustic fellas.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're here to celebrate 10 years of late night with Seth Meyers, my good friend, and I'm going to interview him.
And you claim this is your best strength.
I always like to say I don't mind moderating as long as it's in moderation. Pretty sure that's the first time in human history that joke has been made. Calling it right here.
Firsties.
Yeah, I got dibs on that joke. All right.
Brought the wrong glasses?
Yeah, got the wrong specs. All right, I want to start off, Seth, by noting, I just got to start off by making it about myself.
Okay.
I occupy a special place at Late Night with Seth Meyers. There is a figurine of me on your desk.
Yep.
I think we can show a picture of it.
Yeah.
It's me as a mummy with the iconic phrase, "My doink fell off." And I was thinking maybe it'd be nice for you to kick things off by explaining how that came to pass.
Okay. We read a headline on CNN that said some ancient mummies had been disturbed. Like they were digging and they disturbed some mummies.
Right.
And then Mike Shoemaker, who was a producer of my show and was a producer with both of us at SNL, said if we were still at SNL right now, we would write up a Weekend Update feature where Andy was a disturbed mummy. And I said, we have a show, why don't we just do it for our show now?
Damn right.
And so we wrote a sketch called Where You Were a Disturbed Mummy, and then you added some Andy sauce to it.
Right.
Then we sent you a really good mummy costume.
You did.
Because you were in LA and we obviously filmed in New York. We FedExed you like the best mummy costume.
Full SNL, like good, with like powder to put on it and makeup and gauze, all the stuff.
And you were on Zoom, and when the Zoom screen came up, you had just wrapped your head in toilet paper.
That's right. That's correct, yes.
Yeah. So not only would you not fly out to do the bit,
correct.
You wouldn't even do us the courtesy of putting on the super expensive costume.
If I'm being honest, it was born less of pranking you and more of opening it and being like, what the fuck am I gonna do with all this stuff? I don't know how to apply gauze.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how did the figurine get on your desk?
The figurine, Colin Jost made the figurine.
That's right.
Colin Jost, our dear friend, obviously, you all know him from SNL. He saw it and was so moved by the mummy who was upset that his doink fell off. I should note, in case you're wondering, one of the reasons mummies don't like getting disturbed is like the slightest bit of movement, the doink falls right off.
Yeah. That's just something archaeologists know.
Yeah. And doink, weirdly, feels like a modern word, but it's one that came back. It was.
That's right.
That's what they called it in ancient Egypt, and then it fell out of fashion, and then it kind of came back.
Yes.
In the Bay Area, I guess, in the 90s.
Yes. Specifically in my friend group. Go on.
So he made it, and then I put it on my desk. And the fun thing is, obviously, NBC has censors, and they're paying very close attention to the show.
Yes.
And so it's been like 3.5 years and we haven't heard anything.
Right. Great.
So I feel like it's probably not coming.
I think doink's in the clear.
I think doink's in the clear. The other great thing is we put an affiliate mug. We change the affiliate mug every night on our show.
Yeah.
And so it's, there's like, I think 280, I probably have it wrong, different NBCs all over the country. And we'll put the mug next to the mummy. And a lot of times, like, news anchors are like, check out the Philadelphia NBC mug tonight. And I'm always like, nobody cares there's a mummy next to it, being like, my doink fell off.
I think if anything, it's intrigue. It makes them be like, I gotta watch this news.
Oh, they think it's news.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just nice for me to finally be on the desk and have it not just be Stefan.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Bill. All right. Done with that card.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks.
Based on how that went, I don't know if we're gonna make it through.
Because we got the big stack?
The big stack.
You guys think we're gonna get through the whole stack? Should we skip to audience questions? I'm freaking out. Oh, man. Who's microdosing? Be real. We're not. You are. That's what I want to know. All right. So, Seth,
Yeah.
10 years of late night. It is a real wonderful milestone. I'm very proud of you, very happy for you. Yes. I'm gonna have to skip that for a second.
Was it another mummy question and you thought you might bump it?
It was mummy related. Okay, in all truth, take us back to when you're starting off late night. It's 2014.
Yep.
First off, let's talk a little bit, and I know you've told this before, but when it started becoming clear that it was gonna be a possibility, was like little Seth growing up like, man, I'd love to host late night. Was that ever something on your radar? Did it change once you got Update? Was it starting to be something you thought about? And then how did the process sort of occur that led you to actually getting it?
I loved late night. I loved Letterman. I loved Conan, but I never thought about that. I will admit my dream was SNL.
Yeah.
Never thought it would happen, but that was the show that meant the most to me. And then when I was on SNL, my dream was Update. And so then when I had that, I was perfectly content, and I don't think I had any exit strategy as to what I was going to do after SNL. And because, by the way, Hollywood had been a hard pass on Myers. It's nice to be back here now as a winner. He thinks it's an award. Lady Oscar. Yeah, but so, you know, we've always, I think you know as well as I do, how cryptic Lorne Michaels is when he delivers news. Mm-hmm. Because it was a crazy time when everything was happening with NBC Late Night, you know, and I didn't even think, Jimmy had just gotten Late Night, and I thought he'd be there for a long time, and then, you know, all the musical chairs sort of happened where it was open after sort of 5 years of Jimmy's Late Night. It never occurred to me. And then Lorne called me once, and Lorne does this thing where the first conversation you have with him, he treats like a follow-up conversation to a conversation that never happened.
Yes. I've experienced this, yes.
So I remember I talked to him and he goes, look, I think you'll be good at it. It will take time, but you'll figure it out.
Yes.
And so people will always be like, did you freak out when they told you had it? And I'm like, I didn't fucking know.
Yeah. I didn't know what it was.
I really didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But
you were like, of course, yeah.
No, I was hesitant to do it. The other thing is, I thought Fallon's Late Night was incredibly inventive and novel and new and different, and I knew I couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. And so it felt like maybe the worst time for someone like me to do it. And then I was lucky enough to have Shoemaker, mm-hmm. who, you know, he had worked with Fallon on his Late Night, and we'd worked with him on SNL, and so when I knew I could do it with him, I had confidence. All right, we'll figure it out as we go.
And did you guys ever talk about doing Barry Gibb talk show?
Me and Shoemaker?
Yeah, you and Shoemaker?
No. We did. I remember he said when it started, Shoemaker was like, not now, but at some point there'll be a mummy story in the news.
Oh! All right. So you get the job.
Yeah.
You call your parents. I got it. You know. So we can move past that, because that's what it looked like.
Wait, can I tell you a true story about the time I called my parents and it backfired?
Yes.
I called my parents when I got Weekend Update, and I was so happy about getting Weekend Update. But I also, part of getting Weekend Update was I wasn't going to be in sketches anymore. Nobody cared about that.
Right.
Like, nobody was like, what are they going to do without Myers and sketches?
I cared.
Very nice.
Yeah.
But I remember, because my mom is the most supportive. I mean, part of the problem why she said what she said is because she's such a big fan of me. But like, this was really the time I was like choking back tears. I remember I walked out of that C4. Remember that bar we used to go to? Okay. Being real coy about it, like they're gonna all show up there now.
I'm sure it's long gone.
Yeah, it is a different thing now.
Yeah.
But I called my mom, I was like, I got Update. I'm not going to be in sketches anymore. And she goes, you're not going to be in sketches?
Like, no, but this was my dream.
Yeah, so that was good. But anyways, yeah, so I called my parents, tell them to get late night.
Right.
They don't care. No, they did. They were excited.
And so you've got it. How do you start off, like, hiring your writing staff? Where do you go first, and then how do you expand? How many writers did you get to start?
I feel like it was 12. I might be making that number up, but it felt like 12. Mm-hmm. And first hire was Alex Bass, who was the head writer at Weekend Update, America's greatest living joke writer. I think you would attest to that as well.
I love him. He was a part of a lot of heartbreak for me when he was running Update with you, because I would write stupid Update features and he would say no.
Yep. And he's also a very tall man who looks like he should be wearing a Grim Reaper robe. Mm-hmm. And he gives the news sort of like down to you.
Yeah, he'd be like, it's Cat Buddy.
So I remember I went, that was the other thing. I knew I could do it if I had Shoemaker, and I also knew I could only do it if I had Bays.
Yes.
And I went to Lorne, and I remember I walked in his office to say I was going to take Bays, and I walked in, he goes, you can't have Bays. And that was, he knew it was coming. And then Lorne did a very funny thing that was unlike anything Lorne had done before. And obviously I'm not going to name names. Lorne started naming all of his least favorite writers. And telling me I could bring them. And I knew, because I was head writer, these are the people he complained about all the time. So I knew his true feelings, but he was doing this very funny bit where he goes, I think they know your voice.
Oh, wow.
But he was doing a bit, and it was one of my favorite bits he ever did. He's like, you know who else I think would be a good fit? I'm like, stop it. But he knew I was taking Bays, and that's why I said it. And so then I had Bays, and then Bays, Shoemaker and I, it was one of the most fun, it was the most I ever felt like, Nick Fury in the Avengers. Like, we just got to like put together, because again, when you do these shows, there's only one time where you have 12 openings, and then for the rest of the time, you just have one at a time. And so it was so fun to try to get one of everything. Like, we just wanted nobody who did the same thing as anybody else, and so we wanted just a real diversity of voices. And looking back, I think we did a really good job with our first round of hiring.
I'm gonna be honest, once you said Avengers, I just started thinking about how cool those movies are. I mean, they look so fucking cool. But I'm happy for you, man.
Did you ever get close to being in one of those Avengers movies?
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like you'd know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Then no, then no. It's like, you think maybe one time they were like, what about Samberg?
Yeah.
You know? And then everyone's like, no.
But definitely Hemsworth for Thor.
Yeah. Yeah. Be like, what about like the guy who does the puppets and talks about Loki and stuff? They're like, Matt Damon's doing it. You're like, oh. So that was kind of, I missed my opportunity. All right.
There's still just one that's done. Okay.
I skipped some stuff. Seth, after all these years,
I like when it transitions away from your voice into the ones the Paley Center wrote for you. I think they're starting to notice the difference too.
Well, I'm going to finish this question because you're about to be so molded. After all these years, you've got a lot of friends in the biz, as you call it. I'm just curious if any of them play the New York Times Spelling Bee, and do any of them ever reach the coveted title of Queen Bee?
I don't know if anybody here plays the New York Times Spelling Bee, but the worst thing that ever happened to me is Andy said, we should text each other our scores every day. And I was playing it, and I was pretty psyched because I would get genius, which I thought was the highest level. And then Andy said, no.
You fucking idiot.
Then Andy said, no, there's one called Queen Bee where you get literally every word in the spelling bee. And now I'm burning, and by the way, I got a job and 3 kids. I'm burning like 3.5 hours a day.
Yeah. And I have no job and 2 kids. I mean, this is kind of my main job now.
Moderating?
Yeah.
Panel stuff?
Or just this one.
So we're like halfway through your main job.
I would honestly say like an eighth of the way. And this stuff is bone dry. Like, this is like, oh, do you like doing the show? You know what I mean? Yeah, like, oh man, did you ever think that the news was gonna be so crazy? When you started, it was like the president was normal. All right, give me it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
Give me a couple of holy shit moments of memories where you were like, either something crazy happened, even if you've told it before, or if you were in a position where you're like, I can't believe this is happening. How did my life become this?
Okay, well, I will say, on a sincere, I really special. Both times I should say not both, because I do have 3 children now, but first 2 times, I got to go into work. They were born on Sundays, and I got to go into work, and I got to very much in real time tell the experience, and that was a very cool thing to just have now as a record, a historical record of how I was feeling at that time. The most holy shit, genuinely, if you're saying oh, holy shit, I told you the story about Chris Rock, right? Chris Rock had done, this is early, when I started the show, I used to do a standing monologue. And I would do the jokes, just now I start at the desk. So I'm doing this standing monologue one night, and Rock had just done Fallon, and then he was leaving the building. He's like, oh, I want to go say hi to Seth. So he shows up at our studio, and they're like, oh, we already started the monologue. And Rock said, oh, I'm going to go surprise him. So I'm doing a monologue joke, right? And then all of a sudden, I tell a B- monologue joke. Audience goes crazy. No reaction any of my jokes have ever gotten.
Oh, no.
Because they can see Chris Rock, right?
Oh, God.
And as embarrassed as I am by how high I jumped when he tapped me on the shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm more embarrassed. The look on my face is yeah. Fucking nailed that.
The joke.
Yeah, I just thought I nailed the joke, because they all
Yes.
Whereas I thought they love this punchline, but they're no, we love watching Chris Rock sneak up on you.
Yeah. Because he's
dope.
Because he's really good at jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, maybe he's here to relieve him.
They weren't cheering for him. They were like, we're gonna get out of this monologue. What do you remember what the joke was? I'm sure you don't.
I don't remember.
You want to just riff something?
I do remember during the Oscars when Will Smith went up, I'm like, oh, well, look, tables are turned.
Oh. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm glad there's press here. That'll be the headline from this.
Well, don't point him towards it.
No, don't do it. That's the good guy. Let's talk briefly about a closer look.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't say briefly, I'm just adding that.
You don't want me to go, want me to go.
Yes! Closer look rules. It's how I get most of my news. Kinda is. All right, it runs 3 times a week. It's intricately written and performed, I might add.
That's very kind of you.
How do you choose your topics? Can you talk us through the process? How does a closer look come together? And once you're done with that, do you have, by chance, a particular one that you remember fondly, or things about them that you remember fondly?
So first of all, as lucky as we were to get Baze, who I knew, we discovered this writer, Sal Gentile, who started as a producer and then ended up becoming a writer because he was so good at politics and so good at comedy, and that is ultimately what makes Closer Look work. And he writes the first draft of it 3 times a week, and I truly don't know what we do without him. And the longer we've done it, the more we've given ourselves permission to take tangents and do fun things, and it's become really silly. With that said, if there's one I'm the proudest of, and again, all credit to Sal, because we were on January 6th, we were going to tape our show at 4 in the afternoon, and we realized, oh, we can't tape now. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, and like any jokes we make, or not even jokes, anything we say now might be so historically dated in 7 hours when this airs, or whatever it was. Yeah. And he wrote, so we did the show live, and we waited until 12:37, and he wrote a closer look that was basically just, this is, like, let's not forget what happened today. And it was so beautifully written, and you know, every year on January 6th, I just kind of go back and watch it just to think, like, God, nothing he said feels as though it was on the wrong side of history at all. Like, it was just very clear-eyed in the way it saw the moment. And again, it was just one of those days where you just feel so lucky to have a show to be able to say those things.
Told you it was going to be boring. All right.
You didn't tell us.
What? I said it was bone dry. Dusty biscuits. All right, Seth. Which guest on your show was the biggest piece of shit? No one's going to say. Just tell us. No one's going to say, right, you guys?
We've done pretty good. We haven't had a lot of, we try very hard to avoid pieces of shit. And I realize there's nothing good comes out of a contentious interview, so we just try to avoid them.
Well, speaking of which, a lot of people, and I'm not just pulling this out of thin air, have said you are a really good interviewer.
Oh, thank you.
And many even would argue you're the best interviewer.
I don't know about that, but
of the late night interviewers.
Oh, I think, yeah, I don't know.
Obviously, I don't feel that way. I'm a Kimmel guy, but. You know,
yeah.
I mean, LA-based, whatnot. It's fine. That's it. Just wanted to say that. Okay. How often would you say you have someone on where it's their first time being on a talk show? And if so, do you treat that differently? And do you enjoy being there first?
I do enjoy because I remember my first was Conan. Who was your first?
Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like the 12:30 show, especially being in the building, a lot of SNL people had their first. Like Conan was the first place they would go.
Yeah.
And I think when you do the 12:30 show, you tend to be the home for a lot of people's first talk show appearance. And so you just try to make them feel comfortable and get the best out of them, and hopefully make the process one where they want to do it again other places and they want to come back. I will say, you know, because we were, you know, this is not a joke. We were on Kimmel Tonight together. And I'd never been on Kimmel before, and being a talk show guest, I find so much more stressful than hosting a talk show.
Yeah.
And because when you host a talk show, you get to do it every night, and you just become very comfortable in it. And so I'll have, a lot of times when people are on the show for the first time, when it's over, you can feel this palpable relief in them, and they'll say, I don't know how you do this every night. And I'm always like, oh no, what you did is harder. Like, my part is the easy part, and like to actually come out here and be able to, like, you know, talk about yourself in a way you don't when you're an actor or an actress, and actually like share yourself. It is a hard thing to do well.
I would also argue, though, that you are built for it in a different way. For me, like one time I was gonna be on Kimmel and he got COVID and me and Mulaney co-hosted it together.
Yeah.
And even, it wasn't a fish, it wasn't a fish. Even just doing it that one time, I was like, fuck this. You know what I mean? Like, I want to do the goofs, I want to come in and leave and then be done. And you are a grinder. As long as I've known you, you're like, I show up every day, I do the work. I can't even turn it off if I wanted to. So to me, it's like the perfect job for you. And to you, it feels easy because it's your natural skill set.
Well, that's very nice to say. I will say, you know, we do the closer look in the first act and then we get to guests, and it officially does not feel like work when the guests come out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just joy.
Yeah. You guys, thanks. This is like posy as hell. Really, it's lifting my whole day. Okay, I know that a really meaningful interview for you was when Letterman was on.
Yeah.
A lot of us grew up watching Letterman. He's a big deal in comedy, and especially in late night. How long did you have to prepare for that? How did you prepare for it, and how did you feel like it was experientially?
You can't over-prepare because that, the last thing David Letterman wants is for you to say nice things about him.
Right.
If you just spend time being like, you're my hero, I never would have done this without you, thank you so much for everything. So weirdly, you just have to stay within yourself and know that all that dude ever wants to do is talk to another person.
Right.
And he doesn't care if you're famous. He'll talk to people who are just interesting to him. He'll talk to people who are not interested in television at all. He probably prefers talking to people like that. Yeah. And so it was just knowing that you wanted to scream, thank you for everything you've ever done, but at the same time knowing that he would be repulsed by that. And so, so you just had to have a nice chat with him and hopefully say a few things he laughed at. And it was great. I was so happy to have done it.
Nice. Yeah. You guys hook up? Your words, not mine. Okay. Something I do love about your show, and I know it's important to you, is that you consistently put your writers front and center. You involve them in bits. You give them segments. You got stuff like jokes Seth can't tell, Amber says what, surprise inspection. Talk a little bit about why that's something that's important to you and how it sort of manifested.
Well, I spend all my time with them, and I genuinely think they're funny people. Yeah. And I felt like such a big part of the writing staff at SNL, and I think we came of an age where people were curious who wrote things. Mm-hmm. I think when you look at the last 10 years, people know who writes the shows they love, and so it's been a good time to sort of put the writers front and center and show people behind the curtain a little bit, mm-hmm. and. Also, our writers, they love it. And they love it even when you bring them on to tell them, the audience, how much you didn't like their joke they wrote. They love playing wrestling heels and being like, we have this thing which I love, which Bass came up with called surprise inspection, where he basically collects, it's the best idea. He collects the worst jokes our writers turned in over the course of the last month, and then it's a surprise inspection. I'm just going to read them to the audience, and they're really bad jokes.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing that Bass wrote in the intro is our writers don't know we're doing this, and because they don't watch the show, they'll never know. But it's great. You read these terrible, they're dad jokes, or they're super offensive jokes, or they're just, everything about them is you can't believe they actually thought it was okay to turn this in for a job. But did I tell you my huge burn? So I brought my son to a New York Rangers game, and they come over and they're like, hey, can we put you on the Jumbotron? And I say, yeah, okay. And when they put you on the Jumbotron, right before they cut to you, they show something, and if you're an actor in a TV show or movie, they'll show a clip of you from a movie, and then they cut to you and everybody cheers. So I'm sitting there, and they show a joke of mine, and I thought it was gonna be a monologue joke, but it's a joke from Surprise Inspection. With no context. And so I think the joke was Trader Joe's is cutting the price of green onions to $1 scallion. And then it cut to me, and the entire Madison Square Garden was like, boo!
I knew it.
And my son, who was next to me, leaned out of the shot. And I'm like, it's surprise inspection! Can I get a mic? Can I get a mic? You guys!
Oh my God, that rules. I like that joke in earnest. Let's talk a little bit about the joke Seth can't tell.
Yeah.
You do with Jenny and Amber.
Yep.
Who I love. I guess just talk about how that segment began. Do you have any control whatsoever of what's going to happen in it? And and et cetera?
Well, we just have like a weekly meeting where our writers, we give them the permission to write whatever they would want. And it is like, take big swings. And, we're not gonna blame you for big misses. It's where I think the best ideas come from. And so, but Amber and Jenny had this idea, and it was based on the fact that we hired Jenny to write monologue jokes, and basically like she wrote so many jokes that were about, her experience as a lesbian woman. And finally, Baze one day was like, Seth can never tell these jokes, right?
Yeah.
And it hadn't occurred to her that like, oh, right, that would be his funeral. But she also thought, like, the very idea of it, I think, gave her this, this take on it, which is, they're not bad jokes. It's just certain people can't tell certain jokes. And the delivery system is part of jokes. It's crazy to say that it's just the words. That's all that matters. Anyone can deliver it. And so they had this idea basically where I would read the setups to jokes and they would read the punchlines that they could get away with as a black woman and a lesbian. And the longer we've done it, the more they've taken control away from me.
Yeah.
Like they just realized it's basically a coup.
Right.
Because we did the 50th one and I had no idea this was happening. They wore like ball gowns and tiaras.
I saw it, yeah.
They came out on a red carpet.
Yeah.
And then they switched it so they read the setups and I had to read the punchline.
Yeah. And you were not aware that any of that was coming.
I was not aware of any of it. And I will say, I know them to not want to get me fucking killed.
Right.
Like I love them very much and I know they know, but the fun was like, all right, just trust fall.
You trust them enough.
I trust them enough.
Yeah.
And I knew worst came to worst, we could just cancel the show.
Right. That would be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be pretty bad. Often I'll be home on Thursdays and I'll see a lot of missed calls from you on my phone.
Yeah.
And I want to know what the fuck that's about.
All right, so my favorite thing about Thursdays is after the audience leaves, I shoot something called Corrections. Thank you very much. Jackal's in the house. Corrections, I spend all day Thursday reading every YouTube comment that's been left on our videos that we post.
Yeah.
Because I never read the YouTube comments, and during COVID, I was so desperate for feedback.
Yeah.
Not having an audience and doing a show alone in my attic, I almost just started reading YouTube comments to prove that people were watching the show.
Right.
And I hadn't fully lost my mind and was just doing a show in my attic.
Yep.
It was such a weird time to do a show. Doing a show in an attic is a crazy thing. It's even crazier to have breakfast with your kids and then say, well, Daddy's going up to the attic to shoot a talk show. Yes. It totally sounds like a lie.
For NBC.
Just like an alcoholic's lie.
Yeah. Like, oh,
good news,
Dad.
NBC's letting me do the show from the attic. Well, I'm gonna go. I might as well bring this scotch for a celebratory shot after I finish talking to Reese Witherspoon.
But Dad, just let him.
Yeah, so I started reading the YouTube comments and I realized how many sort of pedantic corrections people made about small things.
Yeah.
And really, and people liked the show, but it was hey dude, save yourself. You don't say Legos, you say Lego bricks.
Is that true?
That's true. There's a bunch of,
But wait.
Yeah.
Wait. Just not to zero in on that.
Sure, go for it. Zero in. I have I'm gonna throw shit back at you, but go for it.
But no one does that.
Nobody does that.
Right.
But they don't care.
Okay.
The Lego people are not to be trifled or reasoned with.
Understood.
Yeah. Super mad about it.
Yeah.
And so then I sort of spent a week trying to correct it, and I was like, sorry, I screwed up. You don't say Legos, you say Lego blocks. And then Lego bricks.
I was gonna say, I even knew that.
I know.
Yeah.
So then I started doing this thing that we just put on YouTube called Corrections, and it's just devolved into a different thing. There's a few corrections every week, and then there's just long, rambling. It's a mess, but it's so fun to do. I feel like I do a weekly stand-up set about my show.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. But then I FaceTime you every now and then because I just have an idea to make you do an impression.
Right, which I'm great at.
You're great at.
Yeah, notoriously.
And then if you answer, which is about 15% of the time.
Right, which, yeah.
And then just hang up on you as soon as you do it.
I've felt that happen a few times.
Yeah.
And you drink during it?
I have a drink.
Okay.
I don't drink before it, and I don't think I get drunk during it.
And what is it, like peppermint schnapps over ice, or?
Are you really asking me what the drink is?
Scotch?
It's a Negroni.
Is that a known thing?
It's really frustrating to me because every week I say it's a Negroni and then I read the corrections comment and every week someone's like, what's your drink?
I don't have a YouTube account to even comment with, so.
You don't have a burner tube account?
I got a couple burners. There's also a P.O. box.
Yeah.
Where the Jackals can send physical items your way.
Yeah.
Can you break me off a couple of choice things that have been sent to you?
I made the mistake of saying, which is a true thing, that Mac Tonight, the McDonald's commercial, was terrifying to me when I was a child. Remember that big, crescent moon-headed
Do I
monster?
remember it?
I hated that dude so much, and I mentioned that I hated it, and now people send me, a lot of Mac Tonight art. And some real creepy stuff too.
Yeah? Homemade stuff or
Yeah, homemade, I referenced one looked like somebody made it on a potter's wheel while in his basement while his victims were forced to watch.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mac Tonight shit's scary.
Yeah.
Based on a musical about a murderer.
Yeah. Nobody remembers that part.
Or maybe the moon is talking about killing cows.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good take.
I'll be honest, I wish I had said it. I knew. All right, another one of your segments that I absolutely love, and I think everyone else does, is day drinking.
Thanks, Brett.
Yeah. You've had a lot of incredible people on there. I do want to clear up a few things about day drinking, and me and you actually talked about this recently because I am still blown away by this. First off, everyone should know you're really getting drunk.
Yeah.
100% that.
100% that.
Second, how hungover are you after each one? I've noticed they've sort of gotten crazier in terms of how much silly drinking is happening.
Yeah.
With dumb concoctions, and then the darts you did with Stuart, where you're just I was watching it with my wife, and we were like, Jesus fucking Christ, why are they drinking all of that stuff?
Yeah.
You told me recently, I hope this is okay to share.
Yeah, you can share it.
You've never in your life thrown up from drinking.
That's correct. Yeah.
And you know what? Yeah!
Yeah.
Yeah! And he's got it under control. He didn't turn it into a bit for any reason other than it's funny. But no, that's like a superpower.
I guess so, yeah.
So how hungover are you after drinking all that shit?
It's bad. Mm-hmm. It's not great. It's not great. But it's so... the crazy thing is the Kristen Stewart, sometimes there's somebody like that you really think, okay, we got a unique opportunity to do it with somebody who's game. Mm-hmm. They're down to do it. But the only day she could do it was a show day. So I had to do that, and I did a show the next day. So we taped, I went out and did that, and then the next day I did a show.
And how'd it go?
I think okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna day drink more.
Do you think it actually went okay, or do you think it was like when you are still drunk when you wake up and you're like talking to your parents? And they're like, oh man, this kid's fucking hammered. What's up, you guys? Oh yeah, I just stayed over at Jeff's all night. We took it pretty easy, mostly played original NES ice hockey.
I once went up I remember summer, my friends and I went up to one of our buddies' lake houses, got super drunk. This is high school. And I ran down, like, just
Illegal, but go on.
I ran down a long dock, the longest dock you'd ever, like so long. And I was like, ah! And then the very end jumped, and then when I jumped, they're like, it's super shallow. Like, it was literally a dock, like, middle of the lake. And I'm like, nobody wanted to yell it while I was running? And I, like, smashed my face into the bottom. And I just had, like, cuts all over my face. And I just knew that thing you were saying. The next day I had to go home and, like, explain what happened to my face. And I remember I had a friend who was one of those guys who wouldn't give up on, like, getting out of a jam. And he had a Jeep, like, you know, like one of those, like, a Jeep Wrangler. And I remember he's like, all right, here's the plan. Because I had a gravel driveway. He goes, when I drive you in, I'm gonna slam on the brakes. You roll out of the car. I'll own it. I'll own it. We'll tell your dad you scratched up your face right then.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was like already like scabbing over. I'm like, it's over, man. I gotta tell him. I gotta tell him I jumped off a shallow dock.
The fucking rules. All right. You ever, what?
No, go ahead.
You ever miss SNL?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always say I miss that being that.
Here it comes.
I miss hanging out with you. That was the best part. I don't think I would love it if I was there now. I feel like I'd be like too old for it.
Right.
I don't think it's but yeah, I mean, it was the most exciting time. Should we plug the podcast?
Sure.
All right. This seems like a good segue to plug our podcast.
You do it though, because I don't believe in the project.
Yeah. Andy, myself, Akiva Schaffer, and Yorma Ciccone, the three of you are the Lonely Island. They made the digital short. Digital shorts that I feel like were incredibly influential on the last 20 years of comedy we've been lucky enough to have. And now we have a weekly podcast called The Lonely Island and Seth Meyers Podcast, where we go back. Each episode is about one of the digital shorts, and it's been lovely to talk to you guys about it.
Yeah.
And you don't believe in the project?
I just don't think it's I don't like the medium.
Yeah. Can you just real quick for your camera, can you show the face you make on the Zoom while we're doing it?
There. Pretty much that?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Good news is, give it up for Andy's Zoom face. But I think it's a very good listen. A shout out Airbnb, one of our sponsors, and Air CNC Music Factory.
Oh. What's your favorite CNC Music Factory song?
I think everybody dances.
Don't say the name, sing it. Bum, 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 bum.
Everybody dance!
Bum, 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 bum.
How blown away would you have been if I had a second CNC Music?
How crazy would it be if doing that song was on the card?
Oh, how crazy it would be if it was the next card and you hadn't read ahead and you're like, oh, fuck, we just did it.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh, we gotta do one of the ones I skipped. Well, Seth.
Yep.
I'm happy to inform you that we're moving on to audience questions.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, great. Let's see how y'all did.
This question comes from Paley Center member Davita Ross. Seth and Andy. Hey! Say what?
Oh, Birdbane. It's a Birdbane costume.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Shout out to Birdbane.
I know what that is.
Yep.
Seth and Andy, if you guys found yourselves in a Freaky Friday switcheroo sitch for 1 week, what part of switching lives would you be most excited about, and what part would you be most worried about?
Okay. If I Freaky Friday'd into your life.
Yeah, and me into yours.
Gotcha. I guess that would be, I'd be most worried about how you'd fuck up my life.
Right. That's actually the correct answer, but I want to dig deeper. The things I would do on purpose to fuck up your life, or the things I would incompetently, inadvertently fuck up?
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought it through so much. I feel like there'd be a couple of on purposes.
Right.
Nothing sexual, but I do feel like you'd do something to my doink.
Right.
Like that would be noticeable at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Like, and again, nothing weird.
Nothing like permanent ink.
No.
Yeah.
But like something where like, Andy's been here.
Right.
You know, I don't quite know what it is. I leave it to you.
Okay.
What would you be most worried about?
I mean, obviously, doink stuff aside. Hosting your show, I don't think I would enjoy, as mentioned. Yeah, that would be bad for me. Also, just like, you do a lot.
Right.
And I stay busy, but you do like a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you do like events, and you go and do stand-up, and then you have kids that you take care of. And then also this show that I mentioned, which is why we're here, actually.
My kids saw Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Right.
And then I was FaceTiming with you, and I wanted you to do your voice.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, they were so underwhelmed.
They hated me.
They hated you.
Yeah.
They were just bummed out you weren't a dude in a diaper. Like that was their,
Yes.
or underpants, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that movie made money, so I'm fine with it.
Because that's always been what you've been about.
That's right. I mean, it's just nice, like, when people's kids are being little fucking assholes. You can fall back on that sweet, sweet moolah. Now, granted, I didn't make much, but the movie did well.
You got paid in meatballs.
Yeah. And, like, they named a
Gotta get a lawyer.
They named a cloud after me. All right. This question is also from a Paley member. Looking back over the last decade, including your amazing work during the pandemic, what has been the most surprising life lesson you've learned through hosting the show? Is this about your show or me doing this?
Life lesson. I'll just say, I think being a talk show host, you realize the importance of listening. I think that's a huge part of it, especially in the interviews. Mm-hmm. And I think generally in life, you are gonna be better off listening more. So be a good listener. A really profound, I feel like profound round of applause where people are like, I don't get it, but it feels like I don't get it or agree with it or think it was a good answer, but.
I think split between that and I don't believe him.
Yeah. But there was a sense of like, maybe if we clap, Andy will move on.
You don't know them! This is a question for both of us. Yes. Since the Paley Center archives and preserves the... You know, the Paley Center has...
Archives and preserves.
Preserves.
Yeah.
That you spread on toast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We walked by. There was the stack of mason jars in the back.
Raspberry preserves.
Yeah. We have film archives and raspberry preserves.
Yeah. Yeah. Since the Paley Center archives and preserves the best of television, can you please share which performers or shows have been inspiring to you over the years?
We used to watch Monty Python on public television.
Sure.
Once a week.
Yeah.
That was a big deal for us. Cheers. I love Cheers very much. I watched Cheers with my family.
Yeah.
I remember once, one of the saddest I ever was I remember in high school I had a dream I was on Cheers, and then I woke up and I was so bummed.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I wasn't on Cheers.
Can I tell you something crazy? Similar note?
Yeah.
I used to have dreams that I was on SNL, but then I did. Yeah. But it was like, because me and Keeve and our friends, we all watched it all the way up until working there and still now after. But like, I would have dreams where people that I am now friends with, yourself included, were in the dream, and I was like hanging out with you guys in the dreams. And I know it seems crazy now because it's like, you think I'm the coolest. But like, like when I met certain people there, I was like, you were in my dream about me being here, and now I'm here, and I'm meeting you, and now we know each other, and we are friends, like in the dream, when we were friends in the dream. And it was very fucking trippy.
It's and it's crazy. Working there is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's only getting crazier for people who work there now, because there's a whole another 10 years of the show that has happened since we left, if not more.
And do you think it's still good? Sorry. People ask us that. Do you think SNL's still good? Fucking of course. All right. If you had a chance, which historical figure would you most want to do a day drinking segment with?
Benjamin Franklin.
Say why.
I just think he's like a lot of good American history stuff, also kind of a dirty dog. Mm-hmm. I could just think like I think he would like spill the tea.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like he's like one drink in. I also think he's never had like alcohol, like our alcohol.
Right.
And like, he'd just be a fucking mess right away.
All right. All right, I got this last one. This is from someone else. It says,
wow, that's good setup.
Well, you'll see.
Oh.
It says, what kind of stuff you heard about Benjamin Franklin?
Is it blank?
Yeah. I think they were just like, choose your own adventure, bro. Follow up on the Benjamin Franklin thing.
So wait, this is your last question.
And that was our top 10 list.
Oh man. So see that, like, so that's the end, we're done.
I refuse to leave. Ask me something about me.
You want me to ask you something about you?
Yeah, man. No one gave us the light.
Someone today told you in front of me that they're a huge fan of Brooklyn 911.
That's true.
They got it wrong. But I want to say something.
Yeah.
I want to say a compliment.
Yeah.
Because one, I believe they meant it. And two, I think maybe they were a little nervous to realize they were talking to you. And you rolled with it. You were really sweet. Whereas I was next to you and I wanted to bust on you super hard.
Right. I mean, we knew when we chose a name with a number in it, it was going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the time, the biggest I got burned with you was when we went to the ESPYs and we drove to the ESPYs together and there was red carpet. And this was early in your time on SNL. And everybody would call you, like photographers would yell out Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
Or they'd get it half right and say Adam Samberg.
Yes.
And so we got out together.
By the way, still.
Yeah. And by the way, I do also think it's a tribute to the great comedy tree that I believe that you and Adam are on.
Oh yeah. I mean, I watched him a lot.
Yeah. So we're in the limo, we're getting out, and you said to me, how soon do you think until somebody calls me Adam Samberg? And I said, first 3, like I predicted. And we got out, and the first photographer was like, Adam Samberg, Adam Samberg. And I laughed so hard, and then the photographer saw me and goes, Bill Hader. And I'm like, oh, God damn it. And I've been on SNL for a way longer time.
Yeah. It stung.
Yeah.
One other thing about that, before I got SNL, I used to do stand-up. I was doing stand-up in the back of a restaurant and in LA, and the guy came out and he's like, this next guy, you're gonna really love this guy. He's like, he's got some really great jokes and he's gonna be really funny for you. Please welcome, literally, Adam Sandler. There's like 14 people. Like, oh my God! And I go running up, no! Is any guy said my name wrong? No! And all of them are just like,
And then you turn on them. You're like, why do you think you were going to get him?
Why would he be here? Think about it.
I remember the summer after my first season of SNL, I was at a bar in Milwaukee, and a dude came up to me at the bar and goes, anybody ever tell you look like that dude on SNL? And I said, it was the first time I got recognized.
Yeah.
I was like, I am that dude on SNL. He goes, fuck you. That's the scam I pull. I look a little like an SNL guy and just hang out at bars waiting.
Oh my God. Okay, last question I have for you.
Do you really have one? Or are you making it up right now?
No. You ever get just like punched? Do you ever just get like punched in the face?
Oh. No, I never get punched in the face.
Okay, let me ask you another question.
Well, wait, somebody yelled out. Did you hear what somebody yelled out?
Yeah, that's what my question's about.
Okay, great.
How come Frisbee's so ugly?
Okay, so I have a beautiful dog, Frisbee. I think you looked up because you thought there was a picture of Frisbee.
They wouldn't dare do that to people.
We talked about this recently on the podcast, which is the true thing you did.
Double down plug on the PCast.
This is who your beloved Andy Samberg is. Oh, America's sweetheart, Andy Samberg.
No one said that.
My words. Every year we send out Christmas cards. A couple years ago, Frisbee's on the Christmas card because she's part of my family.
You have kids now.
Andy gets the Christmas card, scratches out Frisbee.
Right.
Like the way, mails it back to us.
And like when it came, what happened?
I think it was like, I really think Alexi was like, Andy sent you something. Yeah. Like she'd probably stop laughing about it because it'd been an hour or so, but.
Can I get you to commit to something here tonight, and then we'll go, because we gotta go.
Okay.
When Frisbee does pass.
Christ. When you said commit to something, I was like, well, it's not gonna be about Frisbee passing, but it was. Okay.
I just wanted to say the first part.
And it's up to our imagination.
Yeah.
As to what?
I'm just gonna say, when that does go down, let me do something. Will you commit, sight unseen, to letting me do something when, hopefully a long time from now.
I just love the moment of like the whole family, and we're like,
yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna need Frisbee. To say to Alexi, like, I need the body. I need you.
I'm not gonna do something to Frisbee.
Okay.
Let me like do something on the show.
Oh, you wanna come on the show?
Yeah.
You wanna waste 20 years of goodwill that you've built with the American public and come on my show?
Again, I don't feel I've established that, but go on.
Yeah, man, I commit to it.
Yes!
We Paley'd.
We Paley'd hard. It's gonna be mean to Frisbee, spoiler. You guys, thank you very much for coming.
Thank
Please
you.
give it up for
This is
Seth.
Andy Samberg, what a moderator!
10 wonderful years!
Love you, buddy.
Love you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.